A rare dinosaur skeleton has sold at an auction in New York for more than $6 million. Gorgosaurus was a cousin to the more famous T-Rex and roamed Earth more than 79 million years ago. It's believed to have lived in what's now the western US and Canada. The perfectly preserved bones were discovered in the US state of Montana in 2018. The buyer has not yet been identified. Well, Margaret Lewis is the Vice President of the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology and a biology professor at Stockton University. She joins me now from Galloway in New Jersey. Thank you very much for joining us. How unusual is it to have a fossil like this, so complete, and then to have it sold publicly at auction?
Well, complete fossils are relatively rare, and it may not seem that way because when you go to a museum, you're seeing the best that we have to offer, and you're seeing reconstructions and all that sort of thing. So I think the public tends to think, they're fairly common, but in reality, they are incredibly rare. And this one in particular, we have very few Gorgosaurus specimens. Most fossils that we find are fragmentary bones, individual teeth. So yeah, skeletons are really, really rare.
It seems then like having something like this would be important, for everyone to see for kind of, like human advancement. What are your personal thoughts on it being sold privately?
Well, I think it's a loss for all of us, not only for people in the United States where this dinosaur originates, but for the whole world. Right now, the way things are when these specimens come up for sale, they are way beyond the price range of museums and other research institutions. Museums just don't have that kind of funding. And so that means that these fossils disappear into the hands of private individuals. And they might make it, put it on display for people. They might allow researchers to access it, or they don't have to, right? It's their private property to do with as they want. And that's really a concern for countries like the United States, where if you find a fossil on private land, it's the landowner who gets to decide what to do with it, even though this is something that's been there for millions of years, 76 million years in this particular case. And we at the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology would say that fossils really are part of, our natural heritage, not only of the United States, but of the whole world.
Can we talk a little bit about this specific dinosaur? I had never heard of a Gorgosaurus before. It sounds pretty cool, not as high profile, obviously, as the T-Rex, but tell us a little bit about this specific dino.
Well, it is very similar to Tyrannosaurus rex, and I must admit I am not a dinosaur paleontologist. I study saber-toothed cats, which also are being sold, although not in quite as high profile as Gorgosaurus. But Gorgosaurus, it's one of those lovely meat eaters that roamed the western parts of the United States, roughly about 10 million years before dinosaurs went extinct.
Cool. What about the price that this has gone for? They said it was going to go, they thought it would go between $6 and $8 million. It went for just over $6. I mean, are you surprised by that? I would have thought it would have reached a bit more.
I was surprised, and I'm hoping that this means that the people who can afford to buy these dinosaurs are getting the message that this is, everybody wants to have a dinosaur. I mean, if we could all have dinosaurs in our living room, I'm not sure where I could put a 22-foot dinosaur, but, I get the idea, and the need to want to own something that's just so incredibly cool. But I hope that people out there are realizing that purchasing them, as much as it may satisfy a personal need, or a personal desire, it is having a huge impact on the world around us. And, dinosaurs are something that everyone can enjoy. I remember as a small child going to museums and just being awed by the dinosaurs there and the other animals as well. And I have to admit, I have to quote, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who was criticized because he had a skull of a dinosaur behind him in a video. And he pointed out that it was a cast and that if he actually bought a dinosaur, he would put it in a museum. And so hopefully the people that bought this dinosaur, maybe they'll come to that realization as well.
I'm going to say we don't often get quotes from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on Al Jazeera, but we appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time, Margaret Lewis.
Thank you very much for having me.